welcome to Relevance. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be discussing about unemployment in Nigeria as Nigeria ranks the second highest globally. We'll also have interesting news stories for you. We'll also be discussing about how decent work can be achieved in the country.
This protest has come 2 days after members of the Nigeria Bar Association, NBA in Ondo State, staged a peaceful protest in support of the demand for financial autonomy for the judiciary. This time, it was the turn of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN, to demonstrate against the interference in the activities of the judiciary. They were not alone in the struggle, as they were joined by the state chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NSC, and the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria. Chanting solidarity songs, they marched from the State High Court complex through major streets of Akure and stopped at the governor's office. The placards in their hands tell the story. The state chairman of NSC, Sunday Adeleye, urged the state governors to urgently grant the judiciary financial autonomy.
The 1999 Constitution gave each of these arms independence, financial autonomy. But since 1999, when democracy has come to stay in Nigeria, the executive has refused to implement the autonomy. Last year, the Mr. President even issued what we call executive order to implement this.
The state chairman of JUSUN said the judiciary, which is an independent arm of government saddled with the role of administration of justice, should not be strangulated by the executive arm of government.
We decided to go on with the peaceful protest. Today, the entire state in Southwest are trooping out to demand for our rights as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, particularly Section 121, subsection 3. That is why we're here, and that is why we are using the instrument we are having, which is the peaceful protest.
Addressing the protesters, the state deputy governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, said their demands will be looked into.
That this issue is not Ondo State specific. It is a national issue. And despite the fact that Mr. Governor is not averse to this autonomy for the judiciary, he cannot, on his own, kickstart.
After 8 years in the saddle, it is time for the current executive team of the Nigeria Union of Pensioners to leave the stage. It has been 8 years of constantly putting the plight of pensioners on the front burner, tackling those in leadership on how to make life better for senior citizens. Not all the battles have been won. Getting government to upgrade pensions in line with the 30,000 naira minimum wage is still a work in progress.
For 8 years, my team and I have been steering the ship of this great union. We have come, we have seen, and I strongly believe that we have conquered.
The Nigeria Labour Congress calls on the federal and state governments to prioritize the welfare of pensioners.
The condition of pensioners is something that is lamentable. And we cannot continue this way and expect a good country. Where people have worked, they have sacrificed, their entitlement are not being paid. It's not fair.
For the Nigerian Senate, prioritizing pensioners' welfare should not be a subject of debate.
My committee and our sister committee in the House of Reps are setting up a technical committee to go through the entire act and ensure that all that is contained there is implementable, is workable for the benefit of all the pensioners in Nigeria.
In the last 2 years, the pensioners have longed for the implementation of minimum wage pension, and they have resolved to hit the streets in protests. Now, the federal government says it is giving ears to their demand.
My ministry had decided to take the lead on the lingering issue of consequential adjustments to pension of Nigerian pensioners, which has been overdue since 2019.
Impressed with the support of some state governors in matters affecting pensioners, the union has honored 5 state governors with the Award of Excellence as pensioners-friendly governors. They are Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his Yobe, Oyo, Kano and Borno counterparts. President Muhammadu Buhari is also awarded the Grand Commander of Nigeria's pensioners in recognition of his love and passion for the senior citizens.
This is a frequent message an average unsuspecting unemployed youth receives in Nigeria. It is a message indicating invitation for an interview with a supposed CEO for a job placement. Many a times, shortlisted candidates are swindled. Following this trend, Tope Lasisi, who is actively searching for a job, agreed to record her ordeal in the hands of the swindlers.
We are spending this money. Normal, it's the right for us to spend it. But we are spending on irrelevant things that are not giving our expected results. Am I communicating? And that's what we are understanding. Not just because of 30,000 naira. Everything you are not saying, it looks like a scam. What we are looking at it like it looks like a scam. But that's our exam mentality, that's our thinking for our country. But anything that involves money, it's looking like a scam. Now, what is required of you? Your bank name, your account number, and your branch. If not, you don't know the branch you operate your account, don't bother. You can leave. Why? Because you only pay all partners through what we call net.
From findings, there are about 100 venues in Lagos where such activities take place. According to a labor force survey by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), Nigeria's unemployment rate rose to 33.3% in the 3 months leading December 2020. That was up from 27.1% in the second quarter of 2020. More than half of the labor force in the country are unemployed or underemployed. A third of the 69.7 million strong labor force in Africa's most populous country either does nothing or works for less than 20 hours a week, making that segment unemployed according to the Nigerian definition. Another 15.9 million people worked less than 40 hours a week, making them underemployed. The Deputy President of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, Oyinkonsala Olasonye, speaks about the development.
Nigerians will not come out immediately to complain and will not report, because at times when you report at police station, you will expose yourself the more because they want you to lead them to that same place, and you are not even sure that the information you are giving the security outfit are secured for your own personal protection. So because of this, it has been a bit tough to report to the security outfit, and where you report to them, how to follow up. In a situation you reported and a security outfit is telling you that they don't have the vehicle or they don't have the network to follow you immediately until those scammers have the opportunity to escape. So I will appeal that yes, we go ahead reporting to the security outfit, but we should be each other's keeper. There should be more information to fellow Nigerians. And when there are opportunity for anybody that there is a job opportunity, we should seek further clarification. Some people post some things to us and say we have this advertisement going that Bank A, Bank B, or Bank C is trying to employ, and we'll do the investigation and get back to them and tell them yes. You know, in Nigeria, news that is about 3 years old, 2 years old is being recirculated. So when people rely on this thing, it causes more havoc.
Nigeria's jobless rate has more than quadrupled over the last 5 years as the economy went through 2 recessions, casting a shadow over efforts to implement policies to drive growth and create jobs by President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. For Tope Lasisi, who is still actively searching for a job and was almost lured into paying 13,000 naira to secure a license, which might not bring monetary gains, she hopes that there will be industrialization, economic growth, implementation and coordination of national labor policies at national and subnational levels to create more jobs for the citizens. On the profile interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the Deputy President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Amechi Asugoni. He will be shedding light on the Labour Advisory Council newly inaugurated by the federal government after many years of its non-existence. We would also be discussing about the job scams that many Nigerians are experiencing across the country. Thank you very much for your time on the program.
You're welcome, sir.
Recently, the federal government inaugurated the National Labour Advisory Council. Can you tell us how will this affect the average Nigerian worker?
National Labour Advisory Council has been a very relevant body put in place to actually not just support but provide services that will promote decency in the area of labor relations. And it's unfortunate that government have actually paid less attention to the activation of this council. For the past 6 years, this council met last in 2014, and to us as labor, that did not meet the requirement. And it has generated a lot of labor issues unresolved in the nation. So NSC continue to pressurize the need for Labour Council to do its obligation in order to mitigate some of these challenges, nip them in the bud even before they escalate. And by the special grace of God, the body was inaugurated. And I think with this action of federal government, you will now see that the essence of National Labour Advisory Council is to promote laws, to actually look around the nation, look at the best international practices, and recommend them in order with the aim of putting those conventions into practice in your country. You ratify and you domesticate. All of these things cannot be done if this council don't recommend to FEC, and FEC in return pass it on to National Assembly. And for me, we believe beyond that, there are issues around collective bargaining. We have had series of it, suffering, especially in the private sector, where you have multi-employers actually wanting to avert the mechanism of collective bargaining, and where it exists, violations every day. 80% of crises in the private sector associated with the non-compliance to CBAs. And this is a big challenge because some of these things, if you don't check them with laws, then any policy that does not have sanction is actually bound to be violated. So whatever that borders on issues of labor can amicably be resolved without actually escalation. So for us, it's a welcome development, and we pray there will not be any break going forward.
Okay, there are a lot of issues that will be bring to the fore when the advisory council meets, and I'm aware that there are about 4 conventions that needs to be addressed. One of it is the one of Convention 97 and Convention 143, which talks about migration and how the world of work should be. Can you bring us up to speed on what will be the next line of action as regards this convention?
Yes, I think the Convention 143 and 97 was presented to the body with the intention to actually recommend for ratification, because when we talk about migrants, we're talking about rights of workers. And as labor, we believe that workers' rights should be protected. And when a migrant secures a job for purposes of a particular profession, this law, this convention tends to protect such person should your job also come to an end. When a contract of a worker come to an end, a migrant should be given opportunity to seek for getting another job. within that same society. And peradventure you want to switch from the original job that brought you to a different job, the law should permit you because you are there to work, and irrespective of the job you finally do, you remain a worker. So this law is trying to see how they can secure a worker from being intimidated, from being harassed in such a way that change in employment does not affect your right to stay. And other rights that are associated to migrants, strengthening them in order to give them confidence to actually live like any other citizen of that country. For us, it's a work on development, and it has been adopted for ratification.
Another convention that I'm aware that the Labour Advisory Council would want to look at is Convention 181 that talks about private employment agencies. Also, top of the issue again would be that of occupational health and safety. I know that it's one of ILO's recommendation. Can you bring us up to speed on why it's not yet ratified and what Nigerian workers should be expecting in this regard?
Yes. The private employers agencies, it has been deliberated to the extent that we must try to promote decency in engagement. We should also try to differentiate between a recruiter and an employer. In such case, a worker must know his employer, and whereby a recruiter is now a contractor, a labor contractor, then we'll have a problem. We'll have a problem in the sense that violations of workers' rights comes to play when an employer who knows nothing, or rather a recruiter that knows nothing about the CBA of a company, suddenly takes over a department to supply employment, and not just supplying employment to allow the employer to take over responsibility of paying salary. Such recruiters become automatic employer of the worker. So you see somebody working, you are working for company A, and you are being paid by company B. So the question now is, who is your company? You wear the ID card of your company A, but you receive salary from another person. In some cases, they wear the ID card of the recruiter and they work for another company. These are violations of workers' rights. Don't forget, dignity of a worker also comprises a clear identification of your employer, whereby a worker is confused of who is his employers. Suddenly productivity will suffer because you have already threatened the integrity of that worker. So for us, we believe that right to knowing your employer is sacrosanct, and not just knowing, but the right covered under your employment should be provided by the employer himself and not a third party, because that is where you have somebody. Originally, a worker is supposed to be earning X amount of money, but you find another person who calls himself labor supplier, cutting such money into two, paying half to the person doing the job, and eating it. And that becomes the local terms that people tell you, monkey they chop, monkey they walk, bamboo they chop. And it look laughable, but it's being practiced in Nigeria. It's against the law. Because if I'm doing the job and you're paying me less, then I should sue my employer for not paying me salary. And that is why we must see how we use the law to correct these abnormalities. So that what is being practiced outside the world, nobody stop a recruiter from recruiting. But when you recruit, hand over these workers to the employer, who eventually absorb these people as their workers. So I think it's a very big issue. And the issue of health and safety, that one is a non-compromise subject, because health and safety come first before productivity. And for a worker to give his best, you must be alive. So you see employers who are mean with profit. If you are not careful, using law to checkmate this ambition of getting money first before the health of workers, if you don't check them with laws, then workers are in to lose.
Nigeria's unemployment rate is 33%, which is the second highest globally. According to research, it indicates that half of the population in Nigeria is either unemployed or underemployed. How would you react to this?
The issue of unemployment, if I must tell you, if we must rate the problem of Nigeria as we speak, if we must care it under priority, unemployment is number one. Unemployment has suffered attention in Nigeria. So the theory part of it, to study how it's rising, is just academic. Because it is known by average Nigerian that we are not creating activities that will create jobs. So each time people make opinions that may guide government, they seem not to work with it. Because we are talking about rise of unemployment and we are talking about insecurity. And somebody think he can solve insecurity problem without providing jobs. It's a lie. Big lie. No matter how you direct the armed forces to see how they can destroy or bring down the criminals, there's no reason to justify criminality. But I'm telling you, in study, unemployment has been seen to be the biggest factor that promotes crime rates. And you don't have unemployment rising like this and you expect less. I know there are some aspects of these criminal cases that you can attribute to culture, when certain people have attributed a behavior towards crime. So they are not even open to option of employment. But we're talking about the real Nigerians that want to work. Do you know the rate of Yahoo practice in the sectors now? When you travel around all the hotels now, you see small children in school leaving their classroom to come and perpetrate crime. These are not bandits. So this type of advanced criminals, how do you treat them? You watch people who already foresee that if we graduate, we will not have job. So the best is to see how they can even steal laptop or borrow to buy laptop and begin to deceive people, hack people's account, thinking it's a sharp way to make earning, and government is not paying attention to it. So by the time it begins to happen to them in power, they will channel all muscle also to say security agencies should go after them. No. We must have a behavior in our practice. We must begin to attend to the behavior of Nigeria when we talk about unemployment. It's not working, and we believe from infrastructural wing that infrastructure is one of the objective that could drive employment. When you have a consistent program for infrastructure, you retain people on employment. When you retain people doing something, that is when you face the minor to address the issue of behavior.
There's also this big issue of Nigerians falling for job employment scam. It's a trend whereby people would think they are going to get an appointment only for them to pay for the employment and not get the job. What do you think can be done to address this issue? And I think you should also reiterate it at this point.
Now, the certificate is no longer determining job. The level of result now, excellence is no longer part of determinant for job in Nigeria. It's about who know man. The detriment of people who put in their best, who were using local lantern to read in school, just to see how they can make their parents proud and promote Nigeria. But you see people already made children who believe that even though I don't work hard, parents can give to me. You see people doing what is wrong, nobody is sanctioning them. Other people come, you see organization, very big. You see people going for interview, they get there, everybody is seated. You don't know whether that place you went to is the company, or you will finish the interview, they will not send you to another company. You ask them, did you see any name? They say no name, but there are many people. And they operate freely in this country, dupe people, and they still continue the next year. Who is behind them? Because government is doing less to the issue of unemployment. And until they do so, the problem of insecurity will not stop. And I don't think Nigerians should tempt the youth again to be angry to go and protest. Because, like I said, an hungry man, when he's angry, can never behave well. And the best we can do is to see how we can create job. You can't fight insecurity without creating job. So you must go side by side. And the area will create job to see how we can give options. When they did the amnesty in the Niger Delta then, It was the option of job. It was the option of giving somebody something good to do. And then they now say, okay, their case, they saw it like agitation. They were saying something, we are marginalized. If you don't do us well, we will disturb you. And federal government say, okay, for this reason, you don't disturb again. You are no longer marginalized. Come and do something better with your life. And they choose the option. And whether you like it or not, it reduced drastically. How many times have we heard about expatriate kidnap again for the past years? Even though we have pocket of militancy, disturbing, kidnapping to make money, because it all started from South. But today now, look at what has, I don't know how they have imported this bad culture now to the North. That they now harbor this habit now, that if, as a matter of fact, this is our new job. So the high level of unemployment in a particular region have converted kidnapping as a source of income. And the more government cooperate with these criminals, the more you make the business more lucrative for them, and it becomes very difficult for them. Even though they promise you in Zamfara that they will not do it again, the same people can move to another state to commit the same thing. So for us, unemployment is on the rise, and we need massive, very aggressive program to address them. The issue of 2-3 months program, these are just palliative measures to reach out to the poor. These are not jobs. And then you now hear some governors today tell you that they lack ability to pay 30,000. So if you now, where we are fighting to create more jobs, you are creating more underemployment in the society. That is to say, you are working, but you are part of the unemployed. That is dangerous, because when you have more of them, then they can plan.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.